Welcome please to the JVG podcast, where these G's are gonna spread their seeds of knowledge about the league. It's flourishing with these. These funny catchers seem to be well read, esteemed and honest. Like the man himself, Jeff Van Gundy. They are high IQ, so cerebral and funny. So if you're on the bus, just border on the dunny, listen to the
JVG NBA Tribute Show.
Oh fuck, I didn't get it.
Big night, fella.
Big night, big day. Cheers.
Hey.
And then now you can do the... Now you can...
Welcome everyone to episode 127 of the Jeff Van Gundy NBA Tribute Show, brought to you by your one host, Marco, and your other host, Lukas.
Yep. Shout out. It's our 127 hours themed episode.
Oh, shit. Bro, every day I'm with you feels like I'm in 127.
I think I timed everything very poorly just then. Like the drink. It was obviously my turn to talk. And I took a drink. But I'm so glad we're on air because it's been fucking killing me. Nice mustache, man.
Oh.
I noticed straight away.
Thanks, bud.
How long have you been growing?
Only a week. So like, well, I didn't have one last week.
Yeah, because you were trying to grow one. I was about to say build one.
I was considering adopting one, let's say. And then in the shower, whenever I'm shaving, I'm just instinctively shaving it off every single time. It happened about 3 times.
True.
But now we're like, we'd be 3 shaves in. So what? That's 6 days, 7 days, something like that.
So what, you're shaving every second day?
Yeah. Do you
I
shave
see.
every day?
No, dude. I'm so lazy.
Yeah, but you get nice stubble. I get fucking fluff.
Yeah. I don't know. Once my stubble like really comes through, there's this one bald patch here, which everyone's fucking heard. But I don't like the way it looks. So that's when it gets noticeable, it's like, okay. I don't mind. The stubble actually looks kind of nice the first couple of days, but once it starts getting noticeable, it's bad.
I reckon almost my best facial hair is like mustache after 3 days. It's just nice black stubbly. But
and then it goes strawberry blonde.
And then it goes strawberry blonde, exactly.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
And then in a couple of weeks, it'll go like a darker strawberry blonde.
Okay, I'm excited to see. I don't think I've ever seen you with a mustache.
I had one for ages. Definitely when we met, I had one. But then
in like 2019?
Yeah. But then
I do remember that.
I shaved at the beginning of it was pathetic. I shaved at the beginning of 2020, and then like 3 weeks into lockdown, I was like, well, I'll grow it again. Yeah. And I was like, I fucking hate this. I fucking hate my life. And yeah, I haven't grown one since.
Because I feel like lockdown beard was a bit of a thing. I was actually lockdown shave because I was like, I want to see how this looks without anyone else seeing it.
Yeah, that's when you were clean shaven.
Yeah, it was bad.
I liked it.
I don't.
Okay.
So here's the thing, right? I don't like the way my face looks with and without the mustache, but I prefer it with the mustache. I think it without the mustache is just too much face going on. Right. I feel like the mustache kind of breaks everything up a bit.
Yeah. Well, not to get too cute on the podcast, but when I think of you without a mustache, I think of the nice like in between lockdowns period when we'd hang out all the time and get really fucking happy with each other.
Oh, that was so good. We were so happy.
It was so good. It was the best feeling. Don't you ever know what you got till it's gone?
Yeah. That's so sweet. Also, I feel like we did that a couple of times when it wasn't in between lockdowns.
Yeah.
But that was more Nando's, not happy.
Oh, yeah. But that's what I associate you without the mustaches. I'm like, oh, it was that time. It's the photo of you, me, and Bo at the Peacock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking what a day, huh?
What a day.
Speaking of what a days... What?
It was perfect.
It was the perfect segue, wasn't it?
You didn't have to comment on it.
Yeah. Well, what a day Sunday was. I went to the WNBL on my ones, watched the Melbourne Boomers face off against the Bendigo Spirit at the State Netball and Hockey Centre. Oh, not the State Netball and Hockey Centre. At Melbourne Sports Centres in Parkville, next to the State Netball and Hockey Centre. The Boombox, as they call it. And boy, oh boy, was the Boombox booming. And it was. So I went to this game, obviously. We just watched the highlights together. What were your takeaways from the highlights? And maybe I can critique you as someone that was there and felt the game.
Well, Kayla George is just so dominant.
Yeah.
I think especially watching her at a WNBL level versus, I mean, mostly just seen her at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Like, she can do everything. Like, she's a really, really good defender. I think she got a block very early in the first quarter, and then the Spirit just, like, couldn't get into the paint. And I don't know if it was a combination of like, good D from the Boomers, and also I think just being afraid of Kayla George being there. I think that might have been her only block shot though? Yeah, that was her only block shot for the game, was that. So, and then she was just like hitting this sort of like deep post fades, like some really nice deep middies. She hit a couple of threes as well. Just fucking dominating near the rim as well on offense. Just making it so difficult for the Spirit to play, I think, how they wanted to play. And then they just realigned themselves so well. Started raining in threes. What's her name? Abby Wairong. She hit 5? She was just fucking lighting it up in that first half. And then Kelly Wilson just all of a sudden looked like the best player on the court. 37 years old, is that what I said before?
I think you said 39 before.
39.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
They grew up before our
right
eyes.
before our very eyes. 38. Okay, there we go. 170 centimeters, 38. And she was like, finishing over George, like getting past every single defender, hitting every shot that mattered. I think she had the clutch steal and one at the end there as well. Yeah. So, those are my main takeaways.
Yeah, I think pretty astute observations. The Kayla George, so her first 100 seconds of the game, pretty much, there were 3 big plays to start the game. It was a Kayla George 3, a Kayla George steal, and a Kayla George block. And just set the tempo for the whole game. The Boomers went up, I think, 25-12 at the end of the first quarter, and I think that extended to 28-12 at the start of the second. But you're exactly right about them controlling the inside. I was at the game and like fucking did not need to look at the scoreboard to know like how much of a whitewash it was. Yeah, and you could just feel Bendigo trying to break the 3-point line, could not get in. Even when they did get in, they were met with like bodies and just like such like organized defense on the interior. It wasn't just like blocks. It was like not letting them get shots up and forcing passes out. So I think that block was on Alicia Froling, who's been Bendigo's 3rd highest scorer for the season, and she's like been dominant on the inside. So then she took her out of the game as well. Yeah. I do want to go back to Abby. So I've heard it pronounced as Abby Wairong and Abby Wairong. So I'm going to go with Wairong because it sounds better. She hit 2 threes early in the game, and I think she finished the first half with 5 threes and kept Bendigo kind of afloat. And then in the second half, it was more Annalie Maley and Kelly Wilson. But I think everything you said was right. But what the highlights didn't get was the aforementioned Alicia Froling. She went into the 4th quarter with 0 points and 4 fouls, and she finished the game with 9 points and 4 fouls.
Wow.
And that like inability to get on the inside was mainly due to the Boomers taking her out of the game. But then once they were able to get her back into the game, the Spirit, that was the difference maker. Because their threes were hitting the Spirit, but that ability to go inside and outside definitely benefited the Spirit. And I think biggest takeaway from the game is that these are both definitely contenders. And Bendigo's ability to not lose hope early in the game when it really looked they had. And to find... Because they lost the first quarter by so much, but they just steadily won the next 3 quarters.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was like a 15-point deficit in the next quarter. They were like, all right, cool, we got it down to single digits. Like, now let's work on that. It wasn't one of those like... I mean, we saw it in the NBA this week where like... Portland had 45 and the Lakers had 12. And then in the next quarter, the Lakers had 40 and Portland had 20. It's like, all right, cool. Like, that's falling apart when you have like a huge lead. It wasn't like that. They really had to like whittle down the Boomers, D to eventually get the lead.
Yeah. And just some notable players from this game, as in WNBA players. Hopefully... Annalie Maley will get... I couldn't imagine her not getting like at least a training camp contract especially after the World Cup as well.
And especially after all the press work you've been doing.
200 views, I think, on that Annalie Maley article.
Yeah, at least 2 of them got to be WNBA scouts, statistically.
Christy Wallace and Tiffany Mitchell both played.
Tiffany Mitchell was so good.
Yeah, she has been. I think the other game we saw at the Boombox, she was just a fucking star. And the few games I've seen on the telly, she's also been a star. Hence why she's like fucking their import. But I think they're both playing for the Atlanta Dream this year. That's Tiffany Mitchell and Christy Wallace in the upcoming season. And Olivia Nelson-Ododa plays for the Sparks. And she was not exactly Liz Cambage's replacement, but after Liz left the Sparks, there was like a 5-game filling out period. And then after those 5 games, Olivia Nelson-Ododa got the start. Yeah. And so hopefully this does like good things for her confidence, because she's like got great tools to work with and she's pretty young still. But yeah, she definitely was like a young, inexperienced center in the WNBA. And hopefully, with all this experience and all these reps, she comes back in the... I mean, I don't think the Sparks will be too good next year, but hopefully
unless they make
she's
a
more solid
splash in free agency, and, sign one of the big names, then it'll be like a good development season for her. That would be so good to get that under your belt, get like a good WNBL season, get a WNBA season where you don't have to win, then you're kind of set. Yeah.
And speaking of making moves in LA, boy, oh boy.
God, this is just like the perfect trade to talk about on this podcast.
And what, did it break this morning?
This morning, it was like, actually fucking... Hey, for the non-Patreon viewers, this is my cat. I'm pointing at my cat, Donnie. This little fucker woke me up at... Actually, I wanted to tell you this. And I'm going to. He woke me up at he very rarely wakes me up, but sometimes there's like a cat in the backyard, and he'll like...
and it's him.
Yeah. And he'll meow at it for like 5 minutes, and it's like, whatever. But he was fucking going off. It was like half an hour.
Loud, or is it like his usual meows, which is over a long distance?
Yeah, and they're a bit more like longing. They're like... It's quite... The first time it happened, fucking sorry to go on a huge tangent here, but I'd been listening to like a supernatural horror podcast.
You have mentioned this,
and then he fucking started doing this, and I just got so freaked out. I'm like, there's some fucking entity in my backyard that Donnie is meowing at. Anyway, so he started doing that at about 4:30 in the morning, didn't shut up. And then when he finally shut up and was about to get some shut-eye, my phone vibrated. It was a Bleacher Report notification that Rui Hachimura had been traded to Los Angeles Lakers.
My God. I do have to... So as you might have noticed, I was like going in between my computer and your beautiful mustache. I was just searching Olivia Nelson-Ododa because I was like, she might not be at the Sparks anymore. She is in fact not at the Sparks anymore. She got traded to the Connecticut Sun.
Oh damn!
And
shit!
Yeah, just in time to fill some of those center minutes now that Jonquel Jones is gone.
Yeah, well, it should be a great backup for Brianna if that's how they go.
Yeah. And just while we're here, the trade was Jasmine Thomas going from the Connecticut Sun to the LA Sparks.
Oh, I did see that. I just didn't know who was going in the other direction.
Yeah. And who's going in the other direction? I hear you asking.
Olivia Nelson-Ododa.
Olivia Nelson-Ododa, but who are the other 2 players? It says there's 3 players. Jasmine Walker and the rights to reserved free agent Kiana Smith.
Right.
And the number 10 overall pick.
Wow.
Sorry. Let me do this again. Jasmine Thomas and the number 10 overall pick to the Sparks.
Yeah.
Nelson-Ododa, Jasmine Walker, and the rights to reserve free agent Kiana Smith to the Sun.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. But fucking just it's all happening in LA, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you got the Bleacher Report article notification.
Rui Hachimura traded by the Washington Wizards to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks. I'm not going to go through which ones they are because it was honestly the most boring. It's just so boring talking about second-round picks.
Yeah. So, I think this marks our 1,000,000th trade between the Wizards and the Lakers.
It's a very fruitful relationship, isn't it?
It's been...
Old Tommy Sheps and Bobby P.
Bobby P. I'm not talking about Portis. So, I don't want Tommy Shepard to look like a genius for just like capitalizing on the Lakers' desperation. I think that the Wizards fans are very unhappy to see Rui going, especially for Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks. I am happy for Rui that he's going, and the Lakers sorely needed a wing, and Rui is one of those players, and his role will be so small in this team, or so much smaller than, even though it wasn't big on the Wizards.
He had a lot of expectations on him, I think.
Yeah, and also everyone needs to kind of do their part with the Wizards.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Lakers, he doesn't have to touch the ball for 4, 5, 6 plays. And then there's going to be those games where he hits 3 or 4 middies in a row. LeBron does some cringe dance as the other team calls a timeout. And then there's some awful quote in the post-game press conference.
Russell Westbrook waves him off in one of the last plays.
Yeah, I think Westbrook and Rui had some pretty good chemistry. Westbrook and Gafford had some good chemistry.
I forgot they'd played together.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Westbrook and Gafford had great chemistry. But yeah, right now I think the Lakers rotation features Bryant. I think it might still feature Troy Brown Jr. Yeah. And it's about to feature Rui and Westbrook. Yeah, and we fucking suck. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with our trash.
Yeah, like from the Lakers side, it is desperation. I think it's also like, let's get a player in without having to give up either of those first rounders that we're going to have to give up in another trade. Because like, if this is the only trade they make, then that's terrible. But if this is like, okay, we were heavy at the guard spot, which they are. Like they've got 3 flamethrower scoring guards in the rotation, and Schroeder's playing a lot better than Kendrick Nunn's ever played, really. So, it makes sense. All right, we'll give up sort of a surplus player for a player in a position we need. I don't think Rui Hachimura gets you any closer to winning a championship or making the playoffs. But, I think a player like him should really thrive next to LeBron. I mean, I think most players get better when they play with LeBron. But I think especially someone like him who, just cannot... I hate watching Rui try to create his own shot. I hate it when he puts the ball to the floor. So, if he's just focusing much more on, cutting, slashing, spotting up, or, not touching the ball and just, putting in, good defense on the other end, then I think it'll be really fruitful for him. And, LeBron will just find him 3 times a game. We'll just find, a good look for him.
I also think worst case scenario for the Lakers, this is a good deal because... Rui gets traded with his bird rights, which means that the Lakers can go over the cap to retain him next year when his contract is up at the end of this season. And yeah, even if you do overpay and give him 14 mil per year over 3 years, much like they did with Kuz.
Yeah.
Then that money stays alive, and then this offseason you can trade another first round pick. And then I think, the Lakers' plan isn't that. I think they're trying to win now. Yeah. And I think trading that 2027 and 29 first-round pick, I think that's happening. I think that's around the corner. This is kind of the intro or the prelude into that. And then if you can... Are you getting Turner and Heald for those 2 picks?
Not anymore.
I don't reckon, man.
You literally were in November, and you're not anymore.
Yeah. Well, let's say you can get one of them.
Yeah.
And let's say it's for 1.5 picks, whatever that means. Yeah. Let's say it's for one of the picks.
And a pick swap or something like that.
Yeah. Let's say it's that. Or one of the picks in a second or something. Then that makes Rui the 5th or 6th best player on the team. And that's really good when the 2 other players in his height range are LeBron and AD. Because, then that expectation from a purely basketball perspective is no longer on him. There's and I was going to get onto this later, but I'll get onto it now. There's LeBron and LA Lakers expectation that's going to be on him now. And Rui is someone that has openly cited mental health issues as to why he missed considerable time for the Wizards. And that's great that he did that and he felt comfortable doing that. However, both of those expectations for a player that's openly said, I have to miss time, I have to take time away from the team for my mental health.
And in a locker room that does not seem happy.
Yeah. I think that could become an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like to go back to what you said about, 14 mil a year or whatever. I mean, if he's a restricted free agent, like, I don't know. I don't think there's any other team in the NBA that's going to offer him that money. Like, I don't think you're going to have to match someone who really wants Rui for 14 mil a year. So, I mean, that's a very minor point, but heck, maybe you can kind of get him a little bit undervalued, like in terms of how talented he is at the very least.
Are you saying the Lakers or another team?
The Lakers, yeah.
Yeah, I was just throwing out 14 mil because that scales up to like 17 or 18 in a trade.
Yeah.
And then you combine that with 5 other mil, that's up to 20, that scales up to 24.
Yeah, actually, I do see what you're saying because the Lakers contracts at the moment are like 50 mil, 50 mil, 50 mil, minimum. Yeah. So fucking, I feel like there's more I have to say about the Lakers side, which I'm sure will come out. But as for the beautiful Wizards of Washington, my beautiful Wizards of Washington, I like this. And that's what I was going to say on that rookie extension. There's no longer that like will it, won't it for the Wizards, because if we paid him 8 figures, I would have been mad. Yeah.
But, like at least on our team, like there's just no, it just doesn't make sense.
But if you let him go, then it's like, right, you let one of your first round picks walk.
Yeah,
right?
But now I don't have to worry about like what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kendrick Nunn, who expires at the end of this year, opens up a roster spot for us in the upcoming off season, and 3 seconds I'm happy with. I like the idea of sprinkling those seconds into other trades, making minor moves around the edges, going from having 8 good players to 10 good players, but 0 elite players. But I think I just like this deal. I'm happy that Rui looks like he's in the situation he's going to is at least more suited to his like his basketball player profile, I guess. And yeah, like the relationship hasn't soured, and it feels like it was going to.
Yeah, and like I think it's like you're not getting the king's ransom for Rui here, but I think, given that he's been in trade talks, I don't know, for so long, since it was like, all right, we've just got too many wings. I don't think really another trade has materialized where you didn't also have to give up something.
Yeah.
Like Jay Crowder for Rui just straight up was never going to happen. And yeah, like I don't think he was just desired by other teams enough for them to want to give up. Even like Kendrick Nunn, like he's an expiring, which is good, but also like he's still a pretty good player, you know. Like I don't love him, but I mean, if he's your third guy off the bench or something, like that could be an upgrade for you guys at the moment as well. Not that like really. I mean, I don't think anyone in the Washington Wizards organization is really like, all right, cool, we make this trade and like now we're a playoff. Now we're a playoff contender. Now we've got a chance to make the play-in or something like that. But it's still value. Like there's still some value in Kendrick Nunn and 3 second rounders. It's not like you were just getting rid of Rui for the sake of getting rid of him, which is, I think, would have been reason enough to trade him. It's like your team's going to get better without Rui on it, not because Rui's this or that, but just because there's no fucking minutes for the number of wing size players that you have. Yeah. Considering that like your most consistent player at the moment is a wing. So like there's given that that's the situation, you've then gotten like a little bit of extra value as well.
Yeah. I'm seeing now his nickname on Basketball Reference is Kung Fu Kenny. And I think, the positives I was seeing was like us getting rid of Rui not only is beneficial to him, but it's beneficial to us. Then we get to bring in these 3 second round picks, and I'm going to call it contract year Kendrick. And he's going to probably get some minutes for us. Like Monte Morris misses a game from time to time. He's injured from time to time. DeLon Wright, same deal. Johnny Davis isn't ready to play. No. I don't know if he ever will be. But there will be minutes for Kendrick Nunn in the second or the last 3/8 of the season. I think the Wizards. I think the last 30 games for the Wizards will be a success if Kendrick Nunn's contract next year is 8 figures, and not for us.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not sure if it will be. Like now I'm having a think about it. Like, he hasn't been very good this year. But maybe he just needs, increased playing time, or maybe the injury has just completely done him in. Because before the injury, he was like genuinely, like he got injured for the finals run, didn't he?
I'm pretty sure, with Miami.
Yeah. Which I think was probably a boon for them in the end. But like he was still all rookie first team. Oh no, he played 15 games. He just came off the bench. I think, probably a bit of column A, bit of column B there. So yeah, like I think there should be a role for Kendrick Nunn on this team, because like you could do with a scoring punch, like an actual scoring punch off the bench. You know, not like Delon Wright's he's not a Jordan Clarkson type. He's not a Jordan Crawford type. But yeah, whether or not he can actually provide that is another question. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. Does he wear a sleeve, a shooting sleeve, an arm sleeve?
I feel like yes.
I was about to say it's very Wizards to bring in a player who wears a sleeve, but that just might be a guard thing. Yeah. There's so many players have so many accessories.
Yeah, I don't even notice the sleeves anymore, to be honest.
I didn't even see sleeves. Yeah. If you were to have accessories as a basketball player, what would you have?
Headband, definitely.
That's number one. Okay.
Number one. Oh god, that might be it. I feel like I'd just be like the white guy in the headband,
Yeah.
The Garrison Matthews.
How high are your socks?
Oh, so high. All the way.
God. Because I wear leggings in winter.
Yeah.
And it feels so good to play in leggings. I wish I'd started sooner. And I wish I could do it in summer, but you just like die. Especially, you saw Collingwood College. You weren't even playing last week and you were fucking dying in that gym.
That was messed up, man.
Yeah. But I think if I was like a full-on athlete, I would wear a sleeve.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'd wear it on my non-shooting arm or my shooting arm. Probably my shooting arm.
Yeah, I think that's where you'd wear it. But yeah, you don't want to be wearing a sleeve at Monday Night Basketball.
I did once. I wore one at Coburg one time. And then I think I also wore one at like a school, like fucking basketball competition.
Oh, really?
But it was only ever for a gag. But like I was just like one of those flimsy sleeves.
Yeah.
Not like, because I wear like a padded one.
Yeah.
Like a padded elbow.
Well, you have to be at least pretending that it's doing something.
Yeah. I start missing. Also, Steph coming back with that one sleeve. I mean, I'm sure it's been talked about fucking so much, but looks so good. I can't believe it suits him. Like he just looks so good in it.
Yeah, it's Steph's he's that kid from high school who could look good if he was wearing a garbage bag. You know what I mean?
I don't know the kid from high school personally.
He's just,
unless it was me.
Yeah, it was you. He's just swagged out.
Shout out.
Effortless, I think. Is
Steffortless.
Steffortless curry.
Well, should we move on to our checkup?
Oh yeah. Oh man, I had a joke, but I didn't get the opportunity to work it in.
All right, why don't you whisper it to me and then I'll try and set you up.
Nah.
Why don't you say it to me?
And I was gonna call Will Barton Big Shot Bart.
Big Shot Bart. In what sense?
No idea.
But like volume or like making tough shots?
Yeah, I think what I was going to say is it's like, it's not like Big Shot Bart is coming off the bench every night and putting up 15 points.
All right, so neither.
Neither
really.
Yeah. I think it was going to be quite mocking of him. Anyway, so what are we calling this? Chuck's checkup. Chuck's bloody roast.
Anyone that's been watching NBA on TNT lately, inside the NBA with, Ernie missed the last episode because his mother passed away. But everyone knows the fucking show I'm talking about. I don't know why I'm introing it like you don't.
Poor Ernie.
Yeah.
What a tragedy.
Well, she was like 94.
Yeah, that's fine.
Which is a fucking mint life.
Yeah, legit.
Digress.
I'm getting so distracted today.
Chuck, the Inside the NBA or TNT keeps playing Lakers games, and he's like, why do we have to keep talking about the Lakers? Whoever talks about the 12th seed? Like, we don't ever talk about the 12th seed in the East, and every time he looks, and it's like, it's the, who is it? The Wizards. See, we never talk about the Wizards. It's the blank. We never talk about the blank. So on Saturday or Sunday, America time, the standings showed the Portland Trailblazers and the Toronto Raptors in the 12th seed for each conference, and I was like, hey, these are two teams I want to talk about, because I feel like we haven't talked about them enough. Since then, they are no longer in the 12 seeds, but at the time of us making this...
But they're in the, Portland are 13th and Toronto are 11th?
Yeah.
So
it averages out to 12.
Yeah, it averages out to 12.
Sorry if it isn't to the minute. But they're hugging around that 12 seed anyway. I've waffled on for long enough. So this is ironically called Chuck's Checkup because we are going to talk about the 12 seeds. Would you like to start on the left or the right?
Let's start with the left, with the Portland Trailblazers.
The Portland Trailblazers.
They're 21 and 25. They're... what did I say before? I mean, look, they're in 13th in the West, but they're 4 games off 4th.
Yeah.
Off the New Orleans Pelicans in 4th. Never mind. I feel like early in this season, like when this roster got put together, I was like, why are you doing this? Like, this is so silly. And they had that great run at the beginning of the season. And then I feel like in my mind, they sort of coasted off that good run, as in every time I turned on a Portland game, I'm like, oh, Portland are good. Like, they're really, like, not really fun, but they're like a fun team to watch. They got 3 players who can just show up huge at the end of games in Dame Lillard, Anthony Simons, and Jeremy Grant. Like, Grant has had some huge unstoppable moments this season. And then it just suddenly comes to your attention that they're really, really bad. Like, that they're not winning games, they're blowing big leads, and that they're the worst team that's not tanking in the West. And there could be some teams there could be at least 1 or 2 tanking teams above them as well.
Yeah.
So what's going on here?
Well, this is what we're here to talk about, actually, Marco. Well, what were your takeaways from the Lakers game? Because I watched the first quarter of the game more as just like a checkup for the Blazers, and I was like, it's a bit of Dame Chuck, and I feel like he missed 3 really deep threes in the first quarter. And I was like, you guys could have definitely worked for a better shot. Overall, I wasn't like, I mean, they were playing the Lakers, so how much can you take? Like, you can't really take it with more than a grain of salt. But I was like, they don't look horrible. It still looks like there's a system in place, and there are some good players on this team. Then at halftime, I get text from the group chat and Johnny, which can actually only mean fucking Dame / the Blazers are popping. And Dame / the Blazers were popping. That second quarter was about 1,000 to 2 or something.
Yeah. That was it. It was 1,000 to 2. Yeah.
Did you get to finish that game?
I watched it. Right. I watched it up until the Lakers brought it kind of back even, and then a league pass happened. We won't get into that. But yeah, my main takeaway from that is like, when the game's moving quickly, when they're in transition, like the Blazers are fucking, they look so good. They look borderline unstoppable. Like, they have, I think apart from Nurkic, their other 4 starters, all 4 of them are like from above average to good passes. All 4 of them can catch a lob. All 4 of them can throw a lob. And all 4 of them can hit a 3. But Josh Hart, he is having a problem with taking threes this season. I think he's gone from averaging 6.4 attempts a game to 2 this season. Like, he's just been absolutely allergic to shooting. But that's neither here nor there. So when they're playing quickly and they're playing in transition, and they're sort of playing, they can never really play 5 out, because like, even if you have like Justice Winslow in instead of your center, like, he can't really shoot. But they got that vibe. They got that vibe of like, switching a lot, like really moving the ball a lot on offense. When they're doing that, they look really good. When they get into the half court, they look fucking atrocious on offense. Like, they just don't have like there's just never a lineup out there that like sort of creates holes for the D, if you know what I mean. Like, because there's going to be a play where Josh Hart gets left open for 3, or where or where, I don't know, Anthony Simons gets switched onto a big or something like that. And it's just not like, it's not a sure thing that that's going to be a bucket, when like every other team should have like, situations where you're always going to get a bucket. And I actually think it just comes down to their depth. Like, that starting 5 is really, really impressive on paper, and they do look good together. They look much better than with Drew Eubanks at the 5 than with Nurkic. They're +9 with him and minus 0.3 with Nurkic. So I think that's their best lineup. But he's not like a 35-minute night center. Yeah. And then once you go past there, who have you got? You got Shaedon Sharpe, who is a rookie, is barely getting any touches and is a really bad defender. You have Justice Winslow, who's been like good like a good vet for them, but he's been injured. Nazir Little, like, is that your fault? Is that your 8th best player? You know, it just gets really grim really quickly when you look at this Blazers team.
Yeah, and this is part of the point I wanted to make is I feel like there was a narrative about health as well for the Blazers, but I think their issue isn't a health issue; it's a depth or coaching or both issue. Like Giannis has been out for a bit now. Wow, Giannis is now listed at 7 feet. I didn't even know that. Giannis has been out for a while now, and he's like missed 13, I think, of the Bucks games. Middleton's only played 7 games. Everyone knows that, but the Bucks are still top 4 in the East.
Yeah, they're going on oh no, actually they dropped 150 today.
Yeah.
They haven't been as good, but it hasn't really affected them.
But they're 3rd, and you can say that, Giannis got them there, but it's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of the point as well.
Yeah.
That either Giannis built the buffer or they've been maintaining their ID and the way they play with him out. And that's going to be the case for all these fucking teams I go through. KD just went down recently. He's missed about 10 games for the season. Kyrie's missed about 12, 13. And that's for the Brooklyn Nets. The Clippers, fucking Kawhi, like what more do you need to say? Yep. Paul George has actually missed like 12 games this season. The Sixers, Harden's missed like 15 to 18 games this season.
Embiid's missed a bunch as well.
Embiid's missed about 14.
Yeah.
And these teams are all like well established in the top end of their conferences. You might say that the Clippers are only 3 or 4 games ahead of the Blazers, but I don't feel as though maybe the injuries narrative is a bit there for the Clippers, but for those other teams that are just having success, the injuries narrative isn't there.
Yeah.
Which is I think a sign of I just think is a bad sign for the Blazers. And I also don't think it's a health issue. As I said, it's a depth or a coaching issue. And I hope it's a coaching issue because anything to fucking strike down Chauncey Billups is something I'm definitely want to be a part of. But it's definitely a depth issue.
It's definitely a depth issue.
Like as everything you just laid out just then. But I also feel as though... I think it's not equal parts GM and coach. I think it's more to do with the GM in this situation. But do you not, as a coach, I think that there are 6 guys we both liked from that rundown, 6 or 7 guys. Can you not just get something out of 2 more guys?
Yeah.
Surely you can spark something in 14 minutes a night for Nice Little.
Yeah.
Or Winslow. Was Winslow one of our guys?
I think Winslow was one of our guys.
Okay. So
he's playing 26 minutes a night when he plays.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to ask you about with this Josh Hart plummet in attempts. He's dropped from his 13 games with the Blazers last year. He was averaging 14 attempts a game and 20 points. Yeah. This year, through 44 games, he's averaging now 7 attempts. And he's a smidge down on efficiency. What do you feel as though this is a product of? Because there are players that need to take shots for the Blazers.
Yeah, it looks like mentality for him at the moment, because it's not like he's getting past the ball, and he's not getting past the ball and not being open. He's being open so often. Yeah. He's open for 3 so often. Maybe it could be a coaching thing where Chauncey's Josh, you're here, because I think what's been good about him for the Blazers this year is he's sort of flourished in a skill set that I saw a lot for him with the Pelicans, where he's kind of like a secondary playmaker. He can really take the ball up. He's so good in transition. He's got to be one of the best transition passers in the league. And I think on this team, he has become so much more of that because Dame, Simons, Grant, they're all obviously all can create their own shot in one way or another, but they're all quite good off-ball players as well in different ways. And I think so. I think there has been an aspect of okay, Josh Hart's after Dame, he's he's running point the second most on this team. And 4 assists for a guy who doesn't touch the ball that much is pretty good. But apart from that, I think it just must be a mentality thing because he is open all the time. He's never been such a bad shooter that he should stop taking them as well. He's shooting 33% on the season. Sure, that's not great, but if you're shooting 33% on 6 attempts a game, your 3-point shot's having an impact on the team. It's probably not dragging them down, especially when you've got so many other hot shooters on this team. Not that anyone apart from Jeremy Grant has been particularly efficient,
Yeah.
efficient this season. But you get my point. Like, there's no reason for him not to be taking these shots.
Yeah.
Apart from, like, either Chauncey is just absolutely stuck in something where he's like, Josh should not be shooting. There are so many better shooters on the floor. Or he's just lost his sort of mojo.
Yeah, because the drop in attempts hasn't led to an increase in assists, which if that was the case, then that'd be like, I think that'd be, a product of good coaching. He is averaging a career high in rebounds, which is pretty impressive considering he's been such a good rebounder over his career.
Yeah.
However, I think the shots have to go up for everyone in Portland. Like, one less shot a game for Lillard, Grant, and Simons, I think would be beneficial for them as well.
Yeah.
And almost kind of makes them more dangerous.
Yeah.
Especially if Josh Hart is like a legitimate threat. Also, in that 13 games at the end of last season, he was taking 6.5 threes a game and hitting 2.5 for a cool 37% from three, which is very good. Yeah. And I just don't see the harm in, like... Because he's playing 34 minutes a night, man, and averaging 7 shots. Like, that's fucking tough.
Well, think about it like this, right? So, Portland, they're dead last in bench scoring. Like, completely dead last. They're getting 24 points from their bench. And then you're getting just 9 points from one of your starters a game. So then there's like... I mean, look, we can look at they're averaging 112 points. But, you should be averaging... That's a pretty average average of points a game. You're having to get, like... 70 points from the rest of your starters. That is just way too much. Yeah. Like, there's got to be a better distribution than 70 points coming from 4 of your players. Especially when, like, this should be a really good offensive team. Like, Damon Simons, their skill set is offensive. Yeah. Grant went to Detroit to prove that he had an offensive skill set. And like, I'm actually willing to give it to you, Jeremy. Like, I think you're a good offensive player. You're a good shooter. You can create your own shot. You're just so strong and quick sometimes that there's nothing you can do about it. But like, I don't think that's the load that they should be carrying, on a team that's going to be good. Yeah,
I fully agree. Now, I did some homework just before we recorded to find that the Blazers don't have their pick this year, but they have all of their picks until 2029, which means I think they can trade 3 of them. Do you think they should be movers at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be, but like, what contracts can they trade? Yeah, like, I don't think if you want to go get like another superstar or another another player that's going to cost you 2 or 3 first round picks, then who are you going to trade? Like, Nurkic and Josh Hart, they're both on a good amount of money, but like, if you trade Nurkic, you don't have a starting center anymore. Yeah. And you don't have a backup on the roster for Drew Eubanks either. Like, if he's your starting center, that's fine, but you need someone who can play 20 minutes a night, probably. And yeah, like, if you trade Josh Hart, that's fine, but he's been very good for you. Like, I think he'd probably be the most likely to go purely for money reasons. But, then there's a hole on your wing that you have to fill because there's no one. I mean, hopefully you're getting an elite wing in this trade. Like, that's absolutely who the Blazers would want if they were willing to sell. I'm sorry, if they're willing to buy, if they're willing to pay the price. But yeah, like, I just don't know how the deal even comes together, regardless of who it is.
I think it has to be a Gary Payton, Shaedon Sharpe, and a pick. Gary Payton has only played, what was it? I think
7 games.
I think it was 7 games. Shaedon Sharpe has played in 45, which I think they've played nearly every game but 1 for them. So you are losing a rotational piece there, but I don't think trading Gary Payton. I don't think you should be looking at that as losing a rotational piece. And I think that that's enough with a pick or 2 to get you another starter, and then potentially, I've really enjoyed using this phrase lately, but promote a player to the bench. I think it's fucking like having one of your better players come off the bench is so beneficial to the whole team. But
that was kind of like there's a little bit of that at the beginning of this season where it was like it was going to be Dame, Hart, someone, Grant, Nurkic, and then Simon's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And that would be so good.
Yeah.
That would be so much better than having Simons and Lillard starting.
Yeah, because you can still have that 34-minute Simons off the bench. I don't know, man, fucking preaching to the choir. Whatever. But I do actually think that GP2 and Shaden Sharp and a pick or two is enough to get a wing.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to ask if it's Kyle Kuzma? Because I would take 2 firsts, GP2 and Shaden Sharp for Kuz.
Wow.
If he's out, because it seems as though he's getting traded.
Yeah. But is someone going to pay more for him, you know?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think absolutely.
If that deal is out there, then I think there'll be another team that pays more.
Because Gary Payton is only useful to a team who, like, needs 18 minutes a night of him.
Yeah.
You know? Like, he's not useful.
Yeah.
He's not useful unless he's, like, I don't want to say 8th best, but, like, your 8th most played player. Like, he looked so good for the Warriors last season. But, like, that's only because they had a Gary Payton-sized hole that they didn't know about.
But also,
in their roster.
To cut you off there, the Gary Payton-sized hole is someone that can defend the point and then play the 5 offensively.
Yeah.
Which is not a fucking role most teams have. And it's a role that's very unique when you have the best shooter of all time. And I'm sure that Dame fills 90% of what Steph can do. But it wasn't just the Steph and Gary Payton the second thing. There was like so many more moving parts.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. And then Shaden Sharp, I mean, I think it's criminal that you're like high lottery pick is taking 6.5 shots a game. Like, fuck, man, let him spray.
Yeah.
I think that, like, the biggest criticism of him coming into the league was that he sprays it. But, like, that should be illegal. I don't think you should be allowed to play your, like, highly touted blue chip rookie that little and be this bad.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of moving parts that don't make sense.
Yeah.
Do you reckon they should be movers?
Man, I think you should trade Dame, but yeah.
I mean, I'm so in.
I'm so in.
If I'm the Blazers, I'm rebuilding.
Yeah, but I don't know if they do it at the deadline.
No. Oh, no. You do it.
They do it the off season.
You rebuild in the off season. Like, you tear it down in an off season.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna. I think Dame will be at the Blazers for his whole career. I think that we're looking at it purely from a basketball perspective, where I think that a lot of this is like the business of having a multi-billion-dollar corporation at your fingertips. But I would for sure rebuild the Blazers, because it's like, how much better? How many more band-aids can you put on this thing?
Yeah, and it's just like look what happened to them, right? Like, I just don't think you just don't have that much maneuverability when your best player is immovable, you know? And he's going to be on like 65 million at the end of his contract or something like that. But yeah, like, look what they did. They got rid of CJ. They got lucky that they had a rookie who like turned into another CJ. And then, with the kind of the assets and the space they created, they got Jeremy Grant, who's probably, you know, I would dare say he's a CJ McCollum level player. Like, definitely, of course, he plays a different role. Yeah. Maybe a guy who is a very good defender and can score an efficient 21 points is better than CJ McCollum. But, like, have you really climbed the ladder that much? Yeah. Obviously not. You're 13th in the West. Yeah. And now when I think that's the other thing, is it's like, it's so many franchises are in this position, but when you have to put all your chips in at the beginning of the season, where it's like, right, well, this is what we're going to run with, and we have no maneuverability if it doesn't go right. Yeah. Because there's not like, I don't think there's really any sideways trades there don't seem to be a lot of sideways trades for this team that seem obvious. I think the Gary Payton, Shaden Sharp couple first rounders, that could be a go, but I don't know if I can't imagine what's going to eventuate from that. Then like you're kind of stuffed. Like, your season can be over so much earlier than it should be. Yeah.
Also, Damian Lillard's career in Portland, he had this first wave with LaMarcus Aldridge, Robin Lopez at the 5, Will Barton was on the team, Nick Batum was at the team.
Will Barton was on the team. Big shot Bart.
Wesley Matthews on the team at the time, and then I feel as though they had this other wave more recently, which looked a tiny bit different. Definitely Nurkic was the center at the time, and I'm pretty sure the wings were different. Maybe they still had Wes Matt. Regardless, how many times has a player had then a third wave that's been successful? Especially when they didn't win the ring within either of those first two waves. So yeah, I think I'm not gonna. I think I've been firmly on the rebuild in Portland.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I've been saying that I've been part of that chorus for a few years now. But yeah, I think it's very easy to say as a fan and as an analyst, and more importantly a fan.
Yeah.
But I don't see them. I don't see them doing that.
Yeah, and it's just I don't like anyone who bought into this at the beginning of the year. Like I didn't really see it ending up any other way. Than like a 10th seed, let's say.
Yeah.
Who were there? Yeah, I'm trying looking at the last time they were good. I mean, Ennis Freedom was on the team, of course.
Yeah, big shot Freed.
We have Maurice Harkless, Aminu.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
That was the wing I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's a squad right there. Wow, that does not look like a squad. Was Dame was pulling them through even more shit earlier in his career, wasn't he?
At the very start, LaMarcus Aldridge was fucking.
Oh yeah, automatic. Absolutely. That's a partnership.
Now, Blazers of the Right, aka the Toronto Raptors,
who were also good in the 2018-19 season.
Yeah, actually, low-key have very similar, a bit of a similar vibe to the Blazers.
Yeah.
With their last few years' success, as you kind of just said. So I think pretty much similar conversation here. Let's start with, do you reckon they should be movers? Or maybe should we start with an overview?
Yeah, let's start with an overview.
Yeah,
I feel like I have less to say about them. They're the second worst shooting team in the league in terms of what their field goal percentage is.
Yeah.
They're the third worst 3-point shooting team in the league. All of their starters are shooting absolute dog shit this season. Like nobody is shooting close to 50% from the field, or really like OG Anunoby is leading them with. Oh, actually no. Yeah, Gary Trent is leading with 36% from three. Everyone else is low 30s, high 20s. So I mean, I think this was always like an unsustainable roster, if that makes sense. You know, it's all well and good to be like, all right, I want 5 guys who are 6'9", and all of them can dribble, and all of them can pass, and all of them can shoot, and all of them can defend. And then like in practice, how does that really work? Like now we're looking at a team that like no one can really pass and no one can really dribble and no one can really shoot at the moment. Like I think they're all having like a bad season, but like it just sort of reveals why this roster doesn't work. Like there's like 2 guards. There's 2 good guards on this team, and Fred VanVleet is having a terrible season. There are no real centers on this team at all. And yeah, like I think it's a bit of a oh geez. Big fella stacked that hard. You know, like you can't just keep pushing through with a philosophy that isn't working.
Fully agree. And what did happen to this player, Jonathan Simons? Or is it John Simons? Jonathan Simmons.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get his numbers up first. No, that season was in Orlando. Damn it. I thought the point I wanted to make was that it's all fine and well to have like that idea, but you need to just bring in some like zippy X factor that just breaks through it all and is just a gamer. Because I don't feel as though I feel like they could benefit from with like a prime J.R. Smith, like someone that can just go in and like actually maybe hit 7 threes in a row. Because I feel like the players are empowered to hit 7 threes in a row, but you need that like. You need that player that just cuts through all of the system. Yeah.
They're always system.
Yeah. And the system has started failing, which is what happens when a system gets figured out.
Yeah.
I think Nick Nurse as well maybe has gotten figured out. I remember watching their game against the Celtics a few days ago, maybe last week. And they went to this place, Strong. Now, if anyone doesn't know it, keep your eyes peeled for the Deep 2 film room. However, they tried this play over and over and over again, and there was just no nuance to it. It was very deliberate, and it was like they were going through the motions, and they weren't really finding much success with it. However, they came out of a timeout and added 2 wrinkles to it, and then got a Thad Young post up, I think on a mismatch, which was just like, oh, that's a stroke of like real good coaching. To see how your opponent is defending it, and then to turn strong into, spoiler alert, one of the players on the strong side cut through to the other side, and then there was a high post split, but the play was set up for Thad Young, who was not the guy you're looking for on the Toronto Raptors. He was the guy they were looking for, and they got 2 points from it. So there is still that spark in Nick Nurse. But to go on to should they make a move? Now, as my homework tells me, they have all of their picks until 2029. So there's assets there. And then also this roster is just assets galore. I don't think they need to by the trade deadline, but I think they need to by the start of next season. And I think it needs to be a big move, like one that makes Siakam the second best player.
Yeah. So do you think it's moving one of the... I mean, there's like 4 players. I think there's 4 big players that people would want around the league. Does it involve like Siakam, VanVleet, Anunoby, and Scotty Barnes? And we should talk about Scotty Barnes a bit more in a sec. But do you think, does it involve moving one of them, or is it just bringing another guy in and sending like some, some other bits and pieces out?
So my thinking is 2 of their rotational pieces that aren't Siakam for a bloke that's better than Siakam, and then some picks as well. Because I really think that like Scotty and OG is enough to net a player better than Pascal Siakam, definitely. Especially with like 3 picks. But I actually think Siakam and then a couple of picks for a player that's better than Siakam. I don't know who that player is on a selling team right now. Maybe it's Dame. Although he's only 4 years older than Siakam.
Big 4 years though.
But I think personally I would go Siakam and 2 or 3 picks for a player that's better than Siakam, because I actually like the rest of their players as subsidiary pieces, and I like Pascal Siakam as one of those players as well. But I think that's what I would do personally.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I mean, should they have just traded for Kevin Durant in the offseason?
Man, what if?
Like Scotty, I mean, not to jump too far ahead, but yeah, do you think, has Scotty Barnes been bad, or is this regression, or is this just sort of what happens when your team isn't very good?
Maybe, because he was putting up similar numbers last year on what looked like a better team.
And he was shooting better last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, marginally, but still better nonetheless. I don't feel as though I've watched enough of the Raptors to make an assessment. But he definitely doesn't have the same spark that he had last year. But I actually think that's more of the whole team rather than just him. So maybe it's a product of the environment.
I think he's just asked to do a lot for this team. Like, he's asked to be the point guard for this team, on various nights. And I think it's like, he's one of those players where it's like, all right, his ceiling is like this. This is like what he's capable of, like a really good playmaker, really strong, like multi-tiered scorer, great defender. But that doesn't mean you can just elevate him to that position straight away and be like, all right, cool, you're a really good playmaker, then go out and be a really good playmaker for us. I think everyone just has to do way too much on this team.
I think that, and also it doesn't really make sense when you laid out the blueprint of they want these players that are like that are perfect for the 2 through 4, and then you ask them to play out of their bounds for the 1 or the 5. And also I think that most of being a point guard or a center is mental. Yeah. Because it would be so much pressure. Like bringing the ball up the court once would be so much pressure. You need to want to do that. I think
definitely.
And as we've seen with Anthony Davis's whole career, being a center is mainly mental. I find, like Montrez, when he was with the Wizards, forget about how good he was. I thought he was better than the external opinion of him was. He wanted to be the center, and it wasn't something that it's not really something that you see with Porzingis for a whole game, and it's something that everyone sees with AD, is that he wants to be next to his center. But like, I think that Pascal Siakam, you can't really ask him to be a center. Much like you can't. I feel like maybe Scotty can run. He can run the point forward. He can't run the point guard.
Yeah,
I think
exactly
that's where he's maximized.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I've been thinking about this. I think the answer is no, but I'm gonna propose it as a sort of look. If they had to get better at the trade deadline, if it's not wait till the off season, would you trade one of those switchy wings for Zach LaVine, just straight up?
And I like that,
and just change the identity of the team.
All right, let's. Would you do Gary Trent
for Zach LaVine?
Yeah,
straight up.
No, I think that the Raptors would have to send a pick.
You'd have to send picks. Yeah. Oh, I mean, maybe, but I don't think that makes Chicago better enough for them to say yes.
That's true.
Whereas I think if Chicago got one of Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, or Pascal Siakam, I think that would make them quite good.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting not for LaVine, because the Bulls do get 3 years younger in that and a pick or 2. I think LaVine could be. Actually, I think LaVine would be very good for the Raptors. I also think potentially Miles Turner would be good for the Raptors. I hate you go through the fucking same names every week, but they're out
names who are gonna get traded. Yeah,
they're out there for a reason.
Yeah.
I actually think that a Kuz deal would be bad for the Raptors.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It would just.
Where would he play?
Let's just fucking another log in the jam.
God, that'd be funny though.
I don't know what that would look like, but I like the idea of bringing in like a scoring guard in LaVine or a center.
Yeah. And just asking for something different from your backcourt, because I think the other thing as well is like Van Vliet, like he doesn't just not fit the mold. He's 6 feet tall. Like
it says 6'1". That's such a lie.
Cap. Guy's 5'11".
Like at the most.
At the most. So yeah, and just an in between player. So like your only options aren't tiny little guard or like big switchy wing, like just an ordinary sized Michael Jordan basketball player.
MJ's the growing trees. This guy, all right.
Yeah, what 6'4" shooting guards from fucking Chicago Bulls? Yeah.
Sign me up. I think that takes us to the end of this episode.
Well, do you
just
think?
Kidding.
We said should they be buyers? I guess. Do you think they should be sellers? Like, should they just trade one of these guys for picks?
I don't think so. I think that they should be buyers within the next. What is it? It's still.
I think it's got to be the off season.
I think buyers within the next 8 months. So there's still heaps of time. But that's why I'm saying it doesn't have to be by the trade deadline because that's Feb.
Yeah.
And I know you can't trade until then June, but you fucking make a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
But I think
they are the Tampering Bay Raptors after.
Yes, sir. But no, I think you shouldn't. They're still so young, and they're still like players with championship experience on this team. No, I don't think that they should be sellers.
Yep.
Like Siakam 28, Van Vliet 28.
They're such a perfect age for
They're the old guys.
Yeah.
Then there's 25 Anunoby, 21 Scotty Barnes, 24 Gary Trent. I mean, everyone can go down the list.
But yeah, like if they won a championship in 4 years, and I mean, let's say they still had Siakam and Van Vliet, and they were 32, you'd be like, that's just the most ordinary thing ever.
Dude, especially now, like 32 is like, you still have 2 or 3 windows left in your prime on average, and these players are more than average.
I mean, who fucking knows?
Yeah, or that.
Yeah.
And now it feels like the end of the episode.
All right, well, I think the main takeaway is that, both of these teams probably aren't going to heed this advice, and they're going to... I mean, I have more hope for the Raptors just for the flexibility they have, but the Trailblazers, they're just going to be a basket case until Dame retires, I think.
Yeah. And to plug, I wrote an article for the Deep 2 titled Decisions. Let me just start that again. Decisions for the Dallas Wings ahead of the 2023 WNBA season. Pump the brakes. The WNBA season starts in May or potentially April. However, I have written this like little pre-agency piece for the Dallas Wings. So go check that out on thedeep2.com. It is that simple.
Thedeep2.com. It's that fucking easy.
It is that easy.
It's that easy. I mean, I haven't read it yet. I had a busy day at work, so probably when you leave, I'm gonna read it. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. And now, goodbye.
See ya.